Introduce Dr. Blaise Baxter, who's going to introduce the Amy Walters Patient Lecture for the 2024 meeting. Blaise really needs no introduction, but he is a former president and president of the Foundation Board.
Well, this is the time in our meeting when we turn our attention to what is really the most important part of our practices, that being our patients and their families. This year, the Patient Recognition Award under the Amy Walters name is in honor of the memory of Barbara Jones Renfrew. With me on stage is one of Barbara's sons, Leland Orser, to receive this award on her behalf. I had the privilege of getting to meet Barbara about 2 years ago when she suffered a stroke during watching a FIFA World Cup match with her family just before Thanksgiving. And it was, I get a little bit emotional when I think of Barbara, because she was just clearly an amazing person. I could tell the very first person I met at the hospital that day when Barbara came in was Leland. And it was so apparent to me, and such a great reminder of just how the families of our patients are just so caring and so wanting us to have an amazing outcome for their loved one. So when I met Leland and his family, my mission was clear. It was save mom. And so Barbara had a great outcome, and they were so intrigued with what we were doing to help patients and make stroke outcomes better, that they were really truly champions of this effort. In lieu, you won't get to meet Barbara, unfortunately, in person, but in lieu of meeting her in person, we put together a video collection from some outtakes that were done when our Vanguard team did the PSA for the Get Ahead of Stroke campaign. So ladies and gentlemen, let's meet Barbara Renfrew.
I'm Barbara Renfrew. I live here in San Francisco, and I'm 88. I'll be 89 in April. We have a wonderful family. I have 5 boys and 3 stepsons.
Barbara, tell us, after the stroke, how have you been doing, and how has your recovery been going?
It's been going very well, as you found out by coming to visit, which is an amazing thing.
Do you have any sort of, symptoms or stuff that have left from the stroke?
I have a slightly weak right side, but by exercising, it's really come back tremendously.
Seems like you're doing great. And I think what you just said, keeping active and continuing that recovery is a big message for people that...
Very big. And to keep doing exercises by long distance.
Inspiration for me, that's for sure.
My advice is to get to the hospital and do a doctor as quickly as possible. Not to wait to see whether it was a stroke. Not to wait for anything. Just get to the hospital. I would do anything for Dr. Baxter after what he did for me.
But Barbara was so fascinated by what we are all doing to help, improve outcomes for our stroke patients, that when she was presented with the opportunity to be involved in this PSA, she was all in about sharing her story. And I thank Leland as well, as he's been a great champion from the family perspective to, again, help raise awareness of, for families to, seek treatment early and to not delay. And so Leland, Barbara, and I were, like I said, involved with the Vanguard team in doing a PSA to get the story out, because we sort of have an interesting connection that happened several years ago. So let's take a look at the PSA that our Vanguard team nicely did for the Get Ahead of Stroke campaign.
Hi, I'm Leland Orser. Years ago, when I was on the television show ER, I was part of an episode that focused on a young woman who suffered a stroke. She was saved by a brand new procedure used to extract the clot from her brain.
Got it.
That procedure was introduced to the producers of our show by a real-life surgeon. I never could have imagined back then that more than 15 years later, that same surgeon would save my 87-year-old mother's life.
When Barbara arrived at the hospital, she was in the middle of having a life-threatening stroke. Her face was drooping, her arm and right side of the body, leg were paralyzed essentially, and she was completely unable to speak. Thankfully, Barbara made a complete recovery within 24 hours. This was in large part due to the fact that her family got her to treatment very quickly.
I had no idea what I was looking at. I'd never been around a stroke before. What I did remember was that time was of the essence. Every second counts.
2 million brain cells die every minute a stroke goes untreated. The faster you get treatment, the better your chance to survive and to limit disability. Remember, be fast. B is for balance, E is for eyes, F is for face, A is for arm, S is for speech, and T is for time to call 911. When I came in to check on Barbara, she was sitting up in bed and just looking around and saying, "Okay, now who are you?" She was completely back to normal.
I didn't realize that you could have a stroke and practically not know it. I was incredibly lucky.
Yes. It's been amazing having her back.
Call 911 with any stroke symptoms. Remember, time is brain. We're now going to have Amy Walters beam in, and as you all know, Amy's a dear friend and colleague of all of ours, who and a tremendous advocate and for stroke awareness, and she suffered her stroke here 7 years ago at this very event at the Broadmoor. So we'll turn it over for Amy.
Hello, I'm Amy Walters. The Amy Walters Patient Lecture was created by SNIS Board of Directors, led by Dr. Adam Arthur in 2019, to remind meeting participants of the central importance of patients and their experience. The lectureship was endowed that year by the generosity of Microvention Truno, Stryker, Penumbra, Medtronic, and Cerenovus. Before introducing this year's awardee, I'm compelled with gratitude and love to make some brief personal comments. My stroke occurred right here, right now, at the SSIS at the Broadmoor, July 24th, 2017. I very much wanted to be with you all today at the Broadmoor, but CrowdStrike and Delta Airline did not oblige my wishes. When I had my stroke here 7 years ago, the first people who were there to help were 2 members of the staff at the Broadmoor, Charlene Godson and Desiree Smith. I loved them and had the opportunity to visit them while we were in Jamaica. They are still here somewhere, possibly cleaning more room as we speak. I am here today because of them. Do not neglect to show kindness to strangers, for some have entertained angels unawares. Be kind to others and be fast. BEFAST. In my case, the people who were fast were Dr. Adam Arthur, Bill Paskerson, and Tom McCarthy. The SNIS Foundation award this year's lectureship to an incredible woman and stroke survivor named Barbara Renfrew. Barbara Renfrew's famous fighting spirit was on display less than 24 hours after she underwent an emergency thrombectomy for stroke. Her family found her sitting up in bed, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. No one would have blinked if the 87-year-old stroke survivor decided to take it easy after that experience. But Barbara found a mission. She knew that she could survive and recover after stroke. Others could too. They needed to know the signs, act quickly, and call 911. She invited a film crew into her home to tell her remarkable story of resilience and pass along this important message. The result was a moving, informative public service announcement that has been viewed more than 100,000 times so far. Barbara never had the opportunity to see the impact of her efforts. She passed away on Easter, just a month before the public service announcement was released. Her legacy will live on because we know that every person who views her message has the potential to help others quickly get the treatment they need. For her efforts and her impact, we present this award to Barbara Renfrew. Barbara's son is here to accept the award on her behalf.
Yes, and I'll turn it over to Leland Norser to accept Barbara's award on her behalf.
Thank you. And thank you. I only wish that Amy were here. What an extraordinary human being to take what happened to her and refuse to take it, lying down, get back up, do something about it, shine a light on a topic that is potentially, very, very dark, stroke. Amy, you are a warrior, a messenger, and an angel. Over the last 2 years, what I've learned is it can happen to anyone. A young, old man, woman, stroke does not seem to discriminate. And what I also learned is that I know nothing, and I knew nothing, and I was ignorant when it occurred in front of me. What is a stroke? What does it look like? What do you do if it happens to you? What do you do if it happens to someone you love, someone you happen to be just in the presence of? How do you identify it? What are the signs? Stroke prevention is a great thing and one thing, but response and treatment are obviously another. My mother, who would have loved Amy, and Amy, you would have loved her. She graduated from Smith College in the 50s, and her plan was to go directly to medical school and study to become a doctor, a surgeon, a scientist. She met my father in her senior year. They fell in love, and those plans changed. For the next 23 years of her life, she gave birth to 5 sons, raised them, and sent them out into the world, which in and of itself qualifies as a medical school of sorts. At the emergency room at Children's Hospital in San Francisco, they knew us all by name. But my mother loved doctors, and many of her friends were doctors. let's jump ahead a bunch of decades to when the doctor who she would come to admire and love the most stepped into our lives. Blaise Baxter, who has the greatest name in the business, by the way, and a striking set of blue eyes. When I first met Blaise, and he corrected me last night and told me it was when he came out to get consent to perform the surgery on my mom, I blacked that out. I remember it being when he came out to talk to us, the family, and to tell us that the thrombectomy procedure that he had performed on my mother's brain had been successful. Little did I know at that moment that that we had this shared past, a Hollywood history, but also that I was in the presence of a singularly extraordinary doctor, surgeon, scientist, technician, innovator, pioneer, humanitarian. I could go on. You amaze me, and you amazed my mother with your commitment to pushing forward and advancing the science of stroke technology and procedures and treatment and care. But not just that. It's your intense drive and determination to take everything that you've learned and share it with technicians and medical personnel and doctors and nurses all over the world, to train them, to educate them, to equip them, to give them the tools so that they can give the highest level of care wherever they are to whoever is there and needs it. Stroke is not discriminating, and neither are you. Quickly, after her stroke, my mother made 2 promises. She recovered quickly and miraculously returned to normal, maybe even better than normal. She got 18 months, and we got 18 months with her that she never would have had. She did not die of a stroke, by the way. She died of natural causes. The body that she'd lived so fully in all of her life decided it was time. But her brain, till the very, very end, was sharp, sharp, sharp to the promises. The first promise that she made was to make sure to deliver a fresh batch of her famous homemade chocolate brownies to Dr. Baxter to thank him for giving her brain back. And the second promise, like Amy, was my mother was so grateful and for being given a second chance. And she was determined in some way to give back, to like Amy, to shine a light. The PSA that you saw was filmed 6 weeks before she died. You can see it. She's frail, but her brain, her mind was sharp. She was determined. She had her heart set on it, and when she was determined to do something, she got it done. 1 week before she died, she was determined to get crazily, insanely from San Francisco to New York City. This is 1 week to attend her oldest granddaughter's wedding, and she did it. She got there. She was there. She was also determined a month later to make it to my son August's graduation from Williams College. She was all about education. It was the most important thing to her. She did not make it, but she was there. I will wrap up and bring this full circle by saying that my niece Mabel, my younger brother's daughter, my mother's granddaughter, was supposed to be here with me today to accept this honor on behalf of her grandmother. Mabel is not here, not because of Delta, but Mabel is not here because she is in her first year of medical school at the University of Oregon and in the middle of finals. So we give her a pass. It's a full circle thing. It's incredible. So on behalf of Mabel and my mother and my 4 brothers and my 3 stepbrothers and all of our significant others and my mom's 21 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren, thank you, Amy and Blaise and all of you for everything that you do, because you are changing lives. You are saving lives and allowing people to thrive, and you are sowing the seeds, the most important seeds for generations to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Leland. Well done. Very kind words. Take a look at that.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'll get out of here.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. That was just incredible. We're going to move on to our next speaker, and it's none other than sitting up at the panel, meeting organizer, so Max Shapiro.